I can get myself around if I have to. But I kind of leave that one to Mike. It's Mike's.
It's almost like a cockpit, isn't it? It's like
there are a lot of
buttons.
There's a lot of controls. You need to come a little bit closer, Dot.
Yeah, sorry, Dot.
There we go.
I've got a loud enough voice. I don't.
That's okay, but we need it to sound good because we've leveled up our equipment now.
So somebody gave us some feedback to say, actually, your sound quality isn't as good as it could be. So we thought, right, okay. So I went out and bought. What did I buy? I have no idea. They're just a box.
Some stands.
Yeah.
An additional mic.
Wasn't it 2 mics?
No, it was only the one.
Just the one.
Yeah.
Right. Is that all I bought?
That's all you bought. 3 stands and a mic.
How much did that cost?
A lot of money.
Yeah, it was ridiculous money. I saw it on the Amex and thought, oh. It doesn't matter.
So the person that complained, hopefully they'll watch this now and send us some really good feedback.
Well, actually, we could send it to them, couldn't we? And say, look, this is it. Make sure they get this one.
Yeah,
so
they'll probably say, don't invite her back. At my wedding, when I announced everybody to go back to their tables because I wanted a photo of the 2 of us at each table, the guy said, do you want a mic? And when I started talking, no, you don't need a mic. So,
fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I hate listening to my own voice and absolutely detest it. So when I can sing, I've got a really good singing voice. And, people have always said, oh, you should do something about it. You've got a beautiful voice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can't hear that.
No.
I cannot hear. I know I can hold a tune and I know I sing all right, but when I listen myself back, it's like, oh my goodness, that's awful. What, we've got a squeaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the shower, I'm the best singer ever. It's the best concert I've ever been to.
So I've got my grade 8 exams. I've literally got as high as you're going to go in your singing voice, and I've actually got all my grades. But it doesn't mean that I like the sound of my own voice.
No, I apologize to anybody when there's a recording. I say I apologize in advance for what you have to listen to because the South African accent really comes through on a recording. I think,
that's
wow, that's a really heavy South African accent.
You don't realise that you have a very heavy South African accent.
Yeah. I don't realise it until I hear the recording.
Yeah.
Because I can't see the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
So we record obviously the sound, but also video, which is now a lot harder to see everybody because of these mic stands. We might have to look at some alternative because I was going to get complaints about that next.
Oh yeah.
If anyone has any suggestions, perhaps they can contact us.
Provide us with an environment. Perhaps we could go. The BBC might like us to do it.
Maybe. So Dot, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
You want to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Dot. I'm Angie's. I'm very lucky to be Angie's neighbour by accident, really. I'm obviously South African. I'm married to Ian. I have 2 children, boys, and 4 cats.
Wow, 4 cats.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you've not long been back in the UK, have you?
No, we got back. Where are we now? November 2020. So just before the first, lockdown. I think the second major lockdown, isn't it? You guys had one at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah, it would have been.
Like from the June to October, we flew in, and a week later the major lockdown went in again. And then we thought, oh, Christmas, it will be all lifted. And then it went down again.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, of course, because Christmas, it was from Boxing Day, I think. Was it Boxing? Was it New Year's Eve?
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, that was it. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been quite, because you've got young boys, and it's quite that's been, you kind of were cut off before you even got the chance to start.
Before we could introduce ourselves, we were cut off from everything. Well, when I say everything, we were really lucky because, or blessed is the word I would use, because we had this beautiful outside space here. In the UK, you were allowed to get out and exercise for an hour at least. You could probably sneakily, and I suppose most people did it, come into the garden and shout over the fence to one. So you still were able to communicate with people somehow. Coming from Dubai, where we originally came from, when their lockdown went in, which was, I think, be April. It was really serious lockdown.
Really?
I mean, you had to apply to leave the house.
Wow.
You had to give in your car registration. You applied online for a get out of jail card, effectively.
Wow.
You handed in your car registration, you submitted that, where you were going from, this is your point of start, that's where you're going to, right, and then they measured you'll probably need 3 hours at the most, and if you went back, you got penalized. Cameras along the roads were going off to make sure that that car specifically was allowed on the road at that time. It was really strict.
Didn't know it was that strict.
Yeah, no, Dubai was very, very strict. So,
and did you have to wear masks and everything else?
We had to wear masks. So you can imagine in that heat, it wasn't a pleasant experience to go shopping at all. You had to wear a mask. You had to glove up. And even in your car, if you were alone in your car, you had to mask up.
Wow.
Now, can you imagine wearing glasses? It's before the trick of the shaving cream and all that kind of thing, so nothing misses up. It was crazy. So I never left the house for 8 weeks. Thank goodness we were in a villa which had a good garden, a swimming pool, and it was a really late start to the summer. So we had braais or barbecues every day, nearly every second day. We swam. When the boys finished online schooling, I said, right, pack up. And they said, oh, we're not finished with our work. I said, if you were at school, I'd be picking you up anyway, and you wouldn't be doing the work. So, no, off. And we would swim. So,
what about, how did you shop? How did you get your food?
I sent Ian out.
Nothing's changed.
No, nothing's changed. I'm such a diva.
I do always tease you about that, don't I? But what I wonder how it's impacted on the psychological impact that must have had on you being at home, 2 boys. Because was Ian away at the time, or was he around?
No, he was around.
He was around. Yeah. But if he hadn't have been there, that would have been even tougher.
It probably would have been tougher, but then online shopping in Dubai is a lot easier than here. Oh, golly, yes. You order it you can get things delivered within the same day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's a website called InstaShop or something like that. I don't know if they've got it yet. I think it's InstaShop. I might be wrong. But you literally can order a pint of milk. An hour later, it's at your front door. That kind of thing. So the online service there is phenomenal. It was really, and it was very proactive. If anything, they got more drivers in for the lockdown. So, it was really handy in that respect.
We still have problems with the rehab getting our online shopping through Tesco.
I think so many more people now are doing online shopping.
But they won't let you have so many products because there's 14 people that live in the house, effectively 15 people you feed every evening and whatever visitors we have during the day. And trying to order shopping through the biggest shop like Tesco's, and they won't let you do it. They won't let you have more than so many products. And it's like, but we had that before COVID, and why haven't you opened up? It's made it really difficult, really hard. So we've stopped shopping with them.
Wow.
I go and do personal shopping with them, but for that reason, because we just cannot.
Makes it hard work.
Makes it really hard work.
Yeah.
And the only other way I do is I get one of the staff to go and do it, but that's costly.
Of course,
that is costly.
And of course, it's twice as much work, isn't it?
Exactly.
And you think there's so many people that are looking for work, employ more drivers, and get the stuff out.
Yeah.
It's, in my head, the solutions are really simple. I don't actually think of the background work involved.
But environmentally, that would be it's better for them to send one van out for the whole of this area.
Yeah.
And then as all driving to Tesco's and all driving back or wherever we go shopping.
There was an argument, not an argument, it was a question that was raised quite recently. Are people who live in the city more environmentally friendly or destructive than people that live in the countryside?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
It's a really interesting debate, isn't it? Because if you've run out of a pint of milk in the city, there's inevitably an express shop somewhere within walking distance.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas here in the country,
you can't, generally speaking.
Getting into your car to go.
No, we have no choice here, do we?
Yes, yeah, right.
I have no choice
We
where
could take our life into our own hands and walk along the road.
I thought you were going to say go along and find a cow and milk a cow. Then. The way that that story was going.
That's another risk.
And that's another interesting thing, because, I mean, I've got a bicycle and I used to cycle all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was out cycling every morning, and I would run every morning or cycle every morning. It's one or the other. And it was where we live. And there's no way I could do that now.
No.
Because I don't know what's changed. Something's changed where people do not think, even though the law has changed, where they say you should allow for this, you're supposed to be space. Yeah. Even on a horse, I mean, I ride horses, it's supposed to be, is it 10 miles an hour you're supposed to be when you overtake a horse?
And 2 meters apart.
And 2 meters apart. But that doesn't happen. And it's almost, it feels, and I don't like saying this out loud, but it does feel that actually there's no value in other people's lives. You know, some people are fantastic. I can't say that everybody's like that. But it's like, whoa, do you know, actually, when I'm on my bicycle and you're overtaking at 60 miles an hour, and you're this close to me, the likelihood is I'm going to fall off and you're not going to even know because you've way past me. But also, it's really scary.
It is. I mean, if you think you're in a small car and you're passing a truck, there's that wind. It's almost like that sucking in almost. Yeah. So I can imagine on a bicycle and somebody going past you at 60 miles an hour, it's the same effect.
Very funny. And you couldn't let your boys go out on their bike.
Oh, golly, no, because they boys don't fear for their lives. They and there's a statistic why women live longer than men.
I'm just going to stay quiet.
Yeah, you bet.
So I know if I had to send my kids out on a bike, I'm going to get that phone call,
there's been an accident.
There's been an accident. It's a broken arm, which I can live with.
Yeah.
But the rest, I don't know.
Well, I recently had a family member who's their family member had a very serious accident on a push bike, and very lucky to still be here. I mean, it was really, really serious. I can't even talk about it. It was that serious, but it was, and that was purely just through negligence.
Yeah.
And sadly, we're in that where we live. We've got no hope. It's really sad because I used to love going out on my bike, but Dave says, "Do not."
The boys
this area is so beautiful to cycle.
That's right.
But
I think it works both ways. Okay, I can see it from the point of the cyclist.
Yeah.
But I can also see it from the point of the driver.
Yes.
The cyclist, I think, should have some responsibility. Wear the high-vis jacket, wear your protective gear. Don't purposefully come out in front of a car and cycle side by side. Things like that. Whereas, of course, the driver, slow down. What are you going to do with those extra 5 seconds of your life when you reach your destination? Check your WhatsApp. That's,
I feel like that about horse riders as well, because some horse riders do not wear a reflective jacket, and we see them coming up and down our road, and I think you can't see them.
And especially with when it's overcast and it's dark, and it gets dark,
and you got dark
everything
horse.
is pitch black.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. What was the laws in Dubai about cycling, or did people just not cycle because it's too hot?
There was a huge cycling community there. However, the two never got on, the cyclists and the drivers. I mean, driving there is just manic, and people say if you can drive in Dubai, you can drive anywhere. Okay. I of course think if you can drive on these narrow roads, you can drive anywhere. At least there's space, the lanes are big, everything like that. Sometimes cyclists were a bit reckless because they felt that it was their privilege to be there, and they should get the right of way, which is not always the case. But I think you could say that's a worldwide thing between cyclists and motorists, isn't it?
For sure, yeah. You see it all the time. I mean, I follow some people on Twitter who are avid cyclists, and they quite often post, camera footage of drivers not being very social. But then you go around a corner on some of these lanes, and you've got cyclists and horse riders who, they're side by side going along the road, and you come up to a corner, and you think, well, you can't overtake them because of the corner, because there's two of them, and sometimes they don't think either. So. Yeah, I totally get that.
And then you think of a delivery driver. going back to the delivery driver, they on a target. They have, you know, when you've ordered something online, you're expecting a delivery between 3 and 4, for argument's sake. If they have to stick to the limit behind every cyclist and things, they'll be working till midnight.
But also they could get penalised on their wages for that as well, for not delivering.
They almost certainly do. And there was a guy yesterday, I was coming in, I was going down this road, and there's this little mini roundabout. And on this mini roundabout, there's a block of flats sort of opposite sides of the roundabout. And he was obviously delivering the parcel to both sets of flats. So what do you think he did? He parked on the roundabout.
Shush now.
No.
So you had to get past him, you had to go into the oncoming lane.
Did you take a photograph of this?
And as I was driving.
Oh gosh.
So there's an
everybody's going to jail.
There was an yes, exactly. There was an oncoming, so you had to go into the oncoming lane to get through. But then you were then in the middle of the roundabout. It was the most dangerous thing I've seen in such a long time.
Wow, that is amazing.
It's crazy.
But then I'm one of these people. I would have probably just pulled up and waited. I you know.
Yeah, I felt
the whole village pile up behind me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. The other day, I was actually driving through Cheddar, and my car broke down, and I'm not going to go into why it broke down, but it broke down, and the car, I couldn't move the car, and it was fairly obvious why I couldn't move the car, and there was a little queue of traffic behind, and there was this woman that was behind, who was giving me this awful look and started beeping and swearing. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? The car will not move. I cannot move the car. And she was so unhappy. I thought, just you open your eyes and you'll see why I can't move. And it was just,
That wasn't Monday night as well, was it?
Monday night? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
After
Monday
the trustees meeting.
No.
You didn't have a good night that night.
No. That wasn't. No, that was the previous Monday night. Okay. I had a 24-hour period where lots of vehicles broke down on me. So
no, because I said I was down at a garage in Taunton, and I filled my car with petrol, and then went to start it, and it wouldn't start.
Yeah.
And somebody went, because I've got a nice car, they went, but you've got this. And I went, they break down.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they don't break down.
I can't do anything about it. I'm stuck. I cannot move my vehicle because some vehicles won't move. It will not let me move my vehicle. I have to wait now till the AA man comes along and helps me out here.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was such a difficult situation that somebody ended up doing something so that I could move, just to get out of the way of the abuse that I was getting. And it was awful.
I think people are so impatient sometimes. And, you know, some of the stats I've seen on when I was learning to drive, and they were saying about, you know, hesitant drivers and slow drivers are generally the ones that cause the accidents. They think they're being really safe by being hesitant, but all they do is they make the people behind who want to drive the speed limit, you know, they make them annoyed and agitated that they are going to do something silly to get past them.
Yeah.
There was a guy I was following yesterday who he stopped about, I don't know, probably 300 meters before a roundabout. Thinking, what are you doing? By the time, if you can see that you can go, by the time you get to the roundabout, there'll be a car coming.
Yeah.
He was being so hesitant.
Oh, bless him.
And I felt really sorry for him, but I also thought, you are going to cause an accident because somebody is going to do something to get past you.
But isn't that bit where you have that conflict in your mind? And it's like, am I being intolerant? Am I being impatient? Am I being unkind? Am I, you know, what is it about me that I need to change to be able to alter how I feel about that? And I had a situation where I've got right of way, there's no parked cars, there was parked cars on the other side, and I was going into the village, and I just carried on. And I'd already put my hand up to the person at the front that stopped. I actually had right of way. And then this guy got really grumpy with me in a van, which was behind the guy that had stopped, because I didn't wave and go, thank you very much. And it's like, I didn't intentionally not do that. It was just that I was concentrating on what was coming that way. And it was all a bit tight, the space that I was trying to get through. And I thought, I didn't mean to not do that. You know, please don't be unkind to me. I didn't mean to, but I did have right of way. And I think sometimes people don't actually look at the bigger picture of what's going on around them.
Yeah, and I think if we had to wave a thank you every time somebody gave us, we'd be driving with one hand on the wheel.
Yeah.
You know, which is also not safe.
No. I agree.
So it is kind of, I always go out of a conflict situation, and as I carry on, I think, could I have handled that differently?
Yeah.
I don't, sometimes that hijack monkey they talk about, you know, it's called that Billa monkey, I think it's called. It's where you've got that 6 seconds when, say somebody's hit you.
Yeah.
Head-on collision or bumped into your bumper, you can either flare up or you can just sit, count to 6 and think, right, let's deal with this in a humane way. You know, nobody gets out of bed thinking, I'm going to go and have an accident today. So it's, I always come out of a situation, I could have really handled that differently, and then I get shameful, full of regret. And
a lot of people do that. You know, they're in a situation where they don't take a breath, like your 6 second thing, and it goes one way or the other. It's kind of that fight or flight type mode. You know, is someone gonna, you know, rear up, or are they gonna calmly deal with the situation? And I think it happens an awful lot.
But I've got I know I had a situation, and I very rarely do I ever on social media make a negative comment about anything or about anybody. I just don't, because I don't think it's appropriate. It's generally done in the heat of the moment, and it's not necessary. But I did had a situation arise where somebody was using a camera, and it came into our garden, in your garden.
Okay.
And the boys were around, and we were around, and we had other people around, and it was confident. We have people here that are vulnerable adults, as you know, and Dave was on the roof. You could actually see this camera in the orchard, and I was like, I knew who it was, and I hadn't got permission, and it was like breaching all of the boundaries around filming young people, filming people, etc. And I know the law, and I lost my temper. I was fuming because I'd already asked this person not to do this before. But I actually posted something on the neighbourhood thing because I was so cross about it, because I thought, if this person thinks it's right to do it for me, they're going to do it for other people.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not okay. I mean, we did check it out after and didn't actually put any of that stuff on the actual video on their website, which I appreciated that. But I wished I hadn't done that. I wished I'd just not. I'm glad I told him, and I'm glad I had the conversation with him, but I wish I hadn't. On one hand, other people said to me, you're right, you're absolutely right, that should not happen. There are laws about this, and I know there are. The police, actually, I contacted the police, and the police said, there are laws, and what he was doing was breaking the law. But I wished I hadn't, A, he hadn't put me in that position, and B, I hadn't actually posted it, because I think that sometimes when people have like a camera that takes pictures, I mean, I'd see it's funny if somebody's parked in the middle of a roundabout and thought, you Wally, do you know what risk? But some people would do that with anger.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like parking in a disabled spot when you haven't got a disabled sticker.
Yeah.
You know, I do get a bit irritated by that, because I think some people actually might need that spot.
Yes. And also where I get angry is even if they have the disabled sticker, is the disabled person with them?
Yeah. Well, it's against the law in this country not to do that.
You know, don't park there if the person's not with you. It's the same as having baby seats in your car. Just because you've got the baby seats doesn't mean you park in the mom and baby park.
Here's a question for you then. So, if you have a disabled badge and there are no disabled spaces available, but there are mother and baby spaces or children spaces, is it right that you should park there, or is it wrong that you should park there if you have a disabled sticker?
To be truthful, I think, I know your circumstances, and I know for myself, because I could have a disabled sticker if I wanted one on days when I need it, and I'd only ever use it if I needed it. But I think sometimes people don't understand that when you have a disability of some kind, and it's quite a serious one, that actually you sometimes cannot walk to the doctors, or because there's days when I can't walk from there to there, and actually if I have to go from there to there because it's my doctor's or whatever the circumstances are, I need the support from my local community to be able to park in a place that is close enough. So if there was only a mother and baby one available, and that's what I needed to do, that I think I'd probably justify that. And in fact, I've never done it. I have never ever done it. I've never parked in a disabled spot. I've never parked in a mother and baby unless I'm with, I've got the children with me, the grandchildren with me. But I think if I would.
I think if it's a last resort, yes. And then hopefully the mother and baby who comes through and says, "Oh, there's a disabled sticker," would say, "Okay, clearly there wasn't that space available." I think here, in some spaces, in your bigger supermarkets, the parking spaces tend to be quite big to allow for the undesignated mother and baby spots. You can still manage to get the kid out of things like that. Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, thank goodness I don't have small children anymore. But even when I did have small children, I never aimed to look for the mother and baby spot. I just looked for a spot where there was a gap next to me and say, "Right, kids, get in and out," that kind of thing.
So I had a situation where I took my grandmother shopping many years ago now, and there was no disabled spots available. She couldn't walk very far, and I was like, I think there's a mother and baby spot around the corner. I could sort of see, because they're opposite in this particular supermarket. I think there's one there. Let's go around there. So I went round there, parked in it. This great big van comes up behind me, beeping his horn, saying that's a mother and baby spot. And I don't know if he had a child with him. He probably did, but I think the reason he wanted to park there was because he had this great big van that clearly isn't suitable for this particular a supermarket. It just wasn't suitable. A supermarket is in the middle of the town. And he was not happy.
That is your opinion then.
It is my opinion.
All the vehicle he's got. But I understand where you're coming from about Granny.
Yeah.
Because if Granny needs that, she needed to be
walk
closer to the door to get there, or you get in a wheelchair or whatever.
That's it.
It's all about.
And he wasn't happy, and I just thought, no. But I've seen lots of people that there are parking spaces around or parking areas around where there's so few disabled spaces.
Or loads.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. You think,
I don't know if you've
how
been
many children are in the shop?
Or how many?
I don't know if you've been to IKEA or Cribs Causeway at Bristol. If you've been to either of those places, there are hundreds of disabled spots. And they're always empty. Always.
It's funny because my specialist has said to me, you need to get yourself a badge, because on your really bad days you need to get it. And I'm almost ashamed to do it.
I think there's an element of a stigma attached to that as well.
And it's really, David said, God, you had it now, things wouldn't be quite so tough. So sometimes he has to literally drop me at the door, go and find a parking space quickly, then come back to me. And he doesn't want to do that. He wants to be able to do the whole thing. And it's like, I still haven't got round to doing it because I feel embarrassed.
Yeah. And I think it's a shame because, I read this brilliant post the other day. I think my cousin posted it on Instagram, and she said, why is it such a stigma attached to that and things like mental health?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to ask you, why are you going to the gym? To keep fit.
No.
So why are you embarrassed to get the sticker? You need it.
Because I don't look like somebody who says, I ride a horse. I can ride a bike on a really good day, and I can walk on the flat on a good day. But they don't see me on the bad day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I also think it is the fact that we all know what the disabled symbol is. And
I'm not in a wheelchair.
And you're not in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I think that is, we talk about what people want to identify as and how they want to be referred to. And then disabled people, we sort of have a stigma that they all have a wheelchair. And I feel like that symbol is the wrong symbol now.
It is. I agree with you.
In modern times.
And going back to Dubai, you got tills, and there was a banner for people with determination. It wasn't a disabled or anything, and it showed a picture of people in a wheelchair. It showed people with a walking stick. It showed anything. People of determination.
Right.
So that was the cue. And even on the beaches, they had ramps for wheelchairs and to help the mother and babies, with the prams and things like that. And it wasn't for people with disability or disabled people. It was people with determination, which I think is great.
Positive
It's
way,
really a good way to look at it, because you think, they're coming out. They're probably doing more than the able-bodied person sitting watching
TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I am a very determined person. I
exactly. That badge is your badge.
Hard. Yeah, I want that badge. Can you get me one while you're out there, please? It's like, it is that people that have challenges really do. Some of them work really bloody hard to get a life.
Yeah.
And it's, and other people wouldn't even know what's going on for them at all.
Yeah. And most disabilities are hidden.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And it's like, comes back to what you were saying about mental health. I mean, our charity, Mike's a trustee and I'm a trustee, is about mental health. We do an awful lot of work around mental health. In fact, all of our work's around mental health. And it's like, people do not realise the amount of people that have mental health problems. And it does create a disability for a lot of people.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, you hear of people that just, especially with lockdown as well, that must have really escalated it, as in, they're not confident anyway.
Yeah.
And then this lockdown, and they're more comfortable being indoors and develop agoraphobia, not wanting to get out.
Yeah. Well, also the support systems cut off. A lot of people, I mean, for us as a charity, what we did was, as soon as we knew that we already planned it, hadn't we? We had quite a good planning set anyway. I was way ahead of the game. I could see what was coming. And we talked about Zoom, we've got our system, which actually Mike devised. We had a video system set up so that you could do it confidentially and securely through the videos. And way before everybody decided that Zoom was a wonderful thing, we had that in place already, which was brilliant. And we just had to back it up with other like Zoom, because some people struggle to do that. But we've had to teach people who are using our service to actually use it, because they haven't got a clue. Some of them haven't got a clue.
No.
And actually, some people have literally just had phone contact for that reason, because that's the only way they could do it. But we've given iPads to people so that they've got some contact, because they don't know, they had no other choice. It was the only way they were going to get help. But a lot of people with mental health problems had all of their support cut off.
Yeah.
It is awful.
Yeah.
And it's pretty lonely as well.
Yeah.
If you rely on having a one-to-one with Mike once a week, and then all of a sudden it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's like, whoa.
Yeah. I remember the very first lockdown when they were asking for volunteers to help with things, and I signed up to be a volunteer that would phone people. And I didn't speak to very many people because not many people wanted the service. But I spoke to quite a few people all over the country. It was bizarre. And I had some really interesting chats with people.
Yeah.
It was really interesting, and they were all lovely people, and most of them were sort of elderly. And they were, I don't know if the vulnerable is the right word to use, but they were all kind of on their own, and they've been on their own for a long time. I remember I spoke to one lady who had not seen anybody for 12 weeks.
Wow.
And she was getting I think she was getting, I'm not sure how she was getting food delivery, but someone was delivering her food every day. But because the restrictions were so strict in that first lockdown, she didn't talk to them. She didn't go near the front door. She waited till it had gone. She was telling me about how she sprayed things before she brought them in the house. But she was incredibly low. And I was the first person outside of her family that she had spoken to in that entire time. And she was telling me, I don't know where she lived, but it was up north somewhere. And when I told her that I was in Weston-super-Mare, I told her about Cheddar, and she's like, I remember coming there when I was a kid, and she was telling me this story, and it was really heartwarming. And it was a really cool initiative, actually.
But there are initiatives that still occur certainly I know in Somerset, because I've just been part of that kind of the wider community work. And there's a brilliant service for the elderly in particular and lonely, whereas they can use the telephone. They have like a regular telephone call, even if that's 2-3 times a week.
Wow.
And I can't remember the organisation that does it. So if there anybody that's listening to this can know, email me. Please.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know, because it's a brilliant service, and they were really inundated before COVID.
Wow.
So God knows what it was like when COVID was out there for them. And even now.
And I love speaking to older people because they've just got, like you say, that memory and they you know, wisdom, and you learn things from older people. They say, you know, grandchildren learn things from their grandparents. They'll never learn from their parents. And, you know, it's things like that. So I love meeting older people and moms and things like that.
There was many years ago, there was, I met this person through some of my work that I was doing. And, you know, this person really had acute mental health problems, not because he had a mental illness as such, so he wasn't psychotic, he didn't have any of those other challenges, but it was because he was lonely. And instead of going, well, I give him a bit of counselling, give him a bit of support, literally we befriended him as a family. Sadly, he died in the middle of COVID, and still actually, so we took him to Australia on holiday.
Wow.
You just adopted it.
We adopted him as part of the family.
I know, right? Well, I missed that boat.
Yeah. Would you get to go on holiday?
But it's funny, we've got other friends that are quite elderly, and in fact, they came over quite recently and had dinner with us, and we just continue to do that. We do that with people. We kind of take them under the wing as a family, and like they're still really frightened. Really frightened of what's, you know, of getting COVID because this and this, and really because of that they're still very isolated. And I'm talking a couple of weeks ago. I'm not talking about
beginning of the year,
beginning when they started to open the world up again. I'm talking.
I think a lot of people are still quite frightened. You still see a lot of people wearing masks when walking down the street, in the supermarket. People are still doing that.
Yeah, I've noticed it a lot now.
I think people are still worried.
I do feel that, I mean, if I had a cold and I thought that I was infectious and that I could give you that, I'd wear a mask. I wouldn't be.
I think one of the things that I think a positive that has come out of COVID is that the idea of wearing a mask when you go to a doctor's surgery to see your GP or go into a hospital, I strongly believe that should carry on and remain indefinitely. Because how often, I know myself, I've been in a doctor's surgery, really unwell with whatever coming out my nose or whatever, and thinking, you know, this person that sat next to me who's probably got something similar or completely different, you know, we're going to cross-contaminate because we keep sneezing or coughing or whatever. And you think, you know, the idea of wearing a mask, if you said that 5 years ago, you'd think, oh, you're bonkers, why would you do that? Actually, now, it's very logical.
It's quite normal.
It is normal, and I think that should continue.
I agree. I mean, at the rehab, I've said, if somebody gets unwell in any way, shape or form, they need to wear a mask around the rehab. Even if they live there, they need to wear a mask just to protect everybody else.
Yes.
It's like hand washing. You know, I mean, I'm vigilant about things like that, but it's like some people forget. Actually, you know, we've had a pandemic, and part of that is to do with you touch your face. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, wash your bloody hands. It's not hard.
It's not hard. You know, I've carried hand sanitizer around with me for years.
Yes, so.
I've always got a bottle in my car, and I've generally had a little pot in my laptop bag, and I have done that probably ever since I started work.
Yeah,
because it's just, you know, you come out of someone's office that you visited or a meeting, and, you know, you might not have washed your hands at any point during the day, you know, during a meeting or whatever. And it's just the obvious thing to do. Yeah. Maybe I'm just a bit of a clean freak, hygiene, I don't know, but I've done it for years. I remember once I went to, I was viewing a property, and it was horrible. It was really dirty. I remember it now. I was viewing it with somebody else, and at the end of it, I was like, "Oh, do you want a bit of hand sanitizer?" And they're like, "Nah, I don't need any of that rubbish." And I just think that's disgusting.
Yeah.
No, there's one thing about sticky hands. You know,
I hate
it.
it.
If there's a feeling I hate, it's that stickiness.
I am.
You know,
I wear gloves whenever it's really. I sound like some weirdo, but I am anyway. So. But as soon as I walk out of the house and I'm going to do anything in the garden, the horses, anything like that, you must have seen me. I wear, and actually the ones I've got at the moment are bright yellow.
Guess the hands.
They're gardening gloves, but I don't, and if I haven't got a pair of gloves on when I'm doing anything, it feels like that. Oh, it just feels horrible. Yeah. And partly because I don't want to touch all these things. But I've always done that. Absolutely always done it. I've always got a pair of gloves on, and I wash them
I think there's something nice. I mean, okay, I'm not a gardener, as you know.
No shit, Sherlock.
I mean, I can't even look after a daisy, you know, that kind of thing. But I think if you're playing in the garden and things, it's sometimes nice to get muddy and dirty and things like that. And I remember when the kids were crawling, I mean, the shopping centre would have been the coolest place to go. And because of the summers in Dubai, and I'd let them just crawl, and people would go, "Oh, what about this?" And I'm building up his immunity. Just relax. And I must say, the kids tend to be touching a lot of wood, fairly bulletproof as far as health goes. Because I didn't do this whole disinfectant every time they touched something. So I'm quite grateful for that. But then, of course, we went in a pandemic and so it's probably a lot easier to have.
I would not let my children, grandchildren, or any other child crawl along the floor in a shopping centre, full stop, because all my thoughts go straight to they might have had dog poo on their feet, or somebody's done this.
Was this in Dubai?
Yes, so and you can literally, you can eat off the floor. It is so that clean. Okay. Yes, so it's. I mean, the floors there were probably cleaner than the floors in my house.
I was just about to say
hard,
that.
No, it's not hard. But with cats, why would it be?
But Dubai is such a clean place. Yeah. You know, they clean the beach every day. You see.
Yeah, there's a poor guy in the sandstorm that will still be sweeping the pavement, and you think, "Oh, mate, it's settling right behind you."
I remember when I went, and there was a guy that was hoovering the sand. He had some sort of. It was like a machine that sucked the sand in, got rid of all the rubbish, and then spat the sand back out again.
Oh, okay.
It was really clever. I was watching him for hours. It was really.
You're sad.
I was very sad.
It's entertaining.
I was sat there relaxed, enjoying the sunset, and there's this bloke hoovering the sand. But it was quite cool. But it's such a clean place. So I get why you would do it. But I also agree with Andrew. I definitely would not do that here.
No, not a good plan, really. And I think that's a bit sad, really, because, you know, does that come back to pride? And I'm not a clean freak at all, but I hate going to places that just don't get cared for. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter if it's old. Old's beautiful, but it's like old and clean.
Yes.
You know, and as a country, as a nation, it's like I rode this morning and I was down the road, and it's just they've cut the verge, and I just want to go down there and pick all the rubbish up. And it's like, why am I picking up somebody else's rubbish? Do not throw things out of your car window. I mean, like somebody threw a bottle out of their car window and it missed Dave's head like that.
Wow.
Into one of our fields. And it's like, why would you do that? What's wrong with holding it in your car and putting it in the bin?
People are lazy. Get home? People are just lazy.
It's just laziness. I love a clean car, but if, say, for instance, the kids have rubbish, you're leaving it in the car. You know, and waiting for the nearest bin or home. I can't be doing that either. But also the attitude I hate is somebody else will do it, or it's somebody else's property.
Yes.
You know, that if you want to put a crack up my backside, that's the attitude to have. It's not mine. I don't own it. I'm not going to look after it. That's
it's the wrong.
But also that comes back to then: is that about parenting? Is that about how you bring people up? Do you teach people? If you don't teach your children, like my kids, all of my kids will walk around with rubbish in their pockets rather than put it on the floor or chuck it out the car window or anything. They don't, and they've taught their children that, so their children will have rubbish in their pockets until they find a bin, and you know, and hopefully they'll pass that on to their children, and it goes on like that. So where did the people that chuck things out of the car or don't bother to put it in the bin if you're walking along the street, or indeed a supermarket or a shop doesn't bother to clean their floars, even though they have a cleaning regime. I mean, I was in a shop recently and it was so disgusting. I couldn't try on what I was wanting to try, and it was that bad. I mean, I did put in a complaint, actually. I actually emailed their head office and said, do you know da 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 da? but it prevented me from buying things in their shop because it was that bad.
That's
and you just think, no, you've got. It's like going into a restaurant and you walk in and the carpet that, like the what's it called thing when you open it up, they have like a strip as you come in, don't you? And I've got it in some of our houses. Yeah, like the matting, and it's filthy, and you think, why would you want to eat in that place?
That's how they keep their thoughts. That's their kitchen.
I think as well, it could be the parenting, but I think it's also where we've lost that discipline. People are too scared to discipline their children now, in fear of their children reporting them to a social service. Do
you feel like that?
No. And my children know not to go there because I'm sorry, why? For instance, an example that comes to mind is, to prevent child obesity, they should take the sweeties away from the tills so that children aren't tempted to pick up the sweetie. That's the parents' decision. It's not the government's decision. It's not the shop's decision. The shop should be allowed to put sweeties all over the place. In the fruit and veggie counters if they wanted to. It's the parent that will say, okay, you've done ABC and exercises, you've earned that chocolate. Or no, you're visiting the dentist in 2 minutes, you're not getting a chocolate. That kind of thing. I mean, and my kids know they'll push it. They pushing more and more. And of course, my resilience has to get stronger and say the pushback must be stronger.
I don't help that when we have movie nights, do I?
You see, I let it go. I have to the kids must like somebody.
Mike probably doesn't know this, but I have movie nights with Dot's boys. So I say, come over and watch a movie that the mum and dad won't let you watch.
Oh, really?
I say, because as I make
so
sure
they get
it's safe.
Loads of sweets.
And age rating is out the window.
Yeah, and a fizzy drink and all of that. But we don't tell mum.
Of course, yeah.
But she does enable us a little bit by sending stuff over. But I agree with you, but it's that whole thing about where do if you look at a tree has a taproot, and that taproot in a sense is the parenting root, isn't it? If we all think that influences the whole growth of that tree, and if that is damaged in any way, shape or form, or you don't inform the rest of the tree that you've got to be green in the summer and brown in the autumn, then actually it's not going to happen. And it's the same as children. If they're not given those skills and those tools, then actually they are not going to become fully functioning adults that take responsibility for their rubbish.
That's right. And it's, you give them that foundation, they're never going to stray too far away from it. They may wander a little bit because that's life, but they'll always return to that foundation, whether it's a good or bad one. And
which seems a good time to end, really.
So
we have a question that Mike asks everybody.
Okay.
Over to you, Mike.
So we put everybody on the spot, and we ask them to tell us what their aim or their goal or their dream is for the next 12 months, because we want you to come back in 12 months' time and tell us whether you achieved it or not.
Okay.
So we're putting you on the spot.
Right.
You've got to think about it and tell the world
now.
What aim you can do
right now.
In the next,
no pressure.
It can be anything. It can be something family orientated, work orientated, for the community, whatever it is.
Oh golly, geez.
It could be to get better at gardening by the sound.
It probably could be to get better at gardening.
That's my you can't take that
probably. I would love to have a dog. I think.
You can't get rid of the cats to have the dog.
Oh no, there's certain breeds that get on with cats. So I'd rescue definitely, and hopefully be in our own owned property.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
No, thanks for coming.
Well,
really
thank you for having
it.
me. Yeah.
It's been brilliant.